He secretly worked night shifts to pay his mother's hospital bills until one night changed everything. Rain poured heavily across the city as two-year-old Ethan Walker stepped off the late-night bus at 2:47 a.m. His shoes were soaked, his hands trembled from exhaustion, and inside his backpack was something he feared more than the cold: another unpaid hospital bill. Most people his age were asleep at that hour, but Ethan's day was only halfway over. Every morning, he attended college classes pretending everything was normal. He laughed with classmates. He submitted assignments on time. He even smiled when people asked how life was going, but nobody knew the truth. Every single night after class, Ethan secretly worked at a small grocery warehouse across town, lifting heavy boxes until sunrise just to keep his mother alive. His mother, Claire, had been diagnosed with kidney failure 8 months earlier. The treatments were expensive. Insurance covered almost nothing, and after Ethan's father abandoned them years ago, there was nobody else to help. So Ethan made a decision. He dropped his dreams quietly into the background and chose survival instead. Just until Mom gets better, he kept telling himself. But the bills never stopped coming. At first, Ethan tried balancing school and work carefully. He drank coffee non-stop. He slept 2 or 3 hours a day. He told friends he was busy with projects. But little by little, his body began falling apart. One night at work, while carrying a heavy crate, Ethan suddenly lost balance and crashed to the floor. "You okay, kid?" his manager asked. Ethan forced a smile. "Yeah, just tired." But he wasn't just tired. He was breaking. The warehouse manager, Mr. Lewis, noticed Ethan never complained, never arrived late, never took breaks longer than 5 minutes, and every Friday, Ethan asked for overtime. One evening, Mr. Lewis quietly walked over while Ethan wrapped bandages around his bleeding hands. "You remind me of someone," the old man said softly. Ethan looked up. "My son." Ethan stayed silent. "He worked himself to exhaustion trying to save our family business," Mr. Lewis continued. "He never asked for help either." For a moment, Ethan felt his chest tighten, but before he could respond, his phone vibrated. It was the hospital. His mother had collapsed again. Ethan sprinted through the rain that night faster than he ever had before. When he arrived at the hospital, doctors rushed past him while nurses tried calming patients in the hallway. And there she was, his mother, lying unconscious beneath cold fluorescent lights. Ethan sat beside her bed all night, holding her hand. Machines beeped softly around the room. At sunrise, Claire finally opened her eyes. The first thing she whispered was, "You look tired, sweetheart." Ethan smiled despite the tears forming in his eyes. "I'm okay, Mom," but she knew he was lying. A mother always knows. The next evening, Claire secretly asked a nurse where Ethan went every night. That's when she learned everything: the double shifts, the warehouse job, the unpaid bills, the sleepless nights. And for the first time since her illness began, Claire cried, not because she was afraid of dying, but because her son was sacrificing his life to save hers. The following week, Ethan's condition became worse. During class, he accidentally fell asleep standing near a hallway wall. His grades began dropping. Dark circles formed under his eyes. Even his closest friends started noticing. "You need help," one classmate told him. "I'm fine," Ethan answered automatically. But deep down, he knew he wasn't. Then came the night that changed everything. At the warehouse, Ethan attempted lifting a shipment far heavier than usual. Halfway across the floor, his vision blurred. The room spun violently, and suddenly, he collapsed. Workers rushed toward him while Mr. Lewis called an ambulance. At the hospital, doctors explained Ethan was severely dehydrated, dangerously sleep-deprived, and physically exhausted. When Claire heard the news, she broke down completely. For years, she believed parents were supposed to protect their children, yet somehow, her son had nearly destroyed himself protecting her. The next morning, Mr. Lewis visited Ethan's hospital room, carrying a small envelope. "I made a few phone calls," he said quietly. Inside the envelope was something Ethan couldn't believe, a donation check large enough to cover several months of treatment. Ethan stared at it speechlessly. "What is this?" Mr. Lewis smiled. "People heard your story." It turned out several warehouse workers had shared Ethan's situation online. Within days, strangers from across the city began donating. Some gave $10. Others gave hundreds. One anonymous person paid off the remaining balance entirely. Ethan couldn't stop crying, not because of the money, but because, for the first time in months, he realized he wasn't alone anymore. Weeks later, Claire's health slowly improved. Ethan reduced his night shifts. He returned to school. And for the first time in nearly a year, he slept peacefully. One evening, mother and son sat quietly outside the hospital watching the sunset paint the sky orange and gold. Claire squeezed his hand gently. "You gave up everything for me." Ethan shook his head. "No, Mom. You gave me everything first. Sometimes heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes they carry heavy boxes through sleepless nights, just to keep the person they love alive one more day." Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe for more emotional stories like Thithis.